It is a beautiful fall day. Snow has fallen in southern Alberta. Not here yet. It's very gray out, but still beautiful. The colors of the grasses. And so I'm going to go in there today and just do a little walk around and see if I can see any signs of bunny activity or moose activity. Might even see a boreal chickadee or two. So we'll just have a nice walk through the woods and see what we can see. I really love going through the various forest types. On this side of the river, which is the south side of the river, most of the area is spruce forest. And so it's an over-mature spruce forest. If human intervention wasn't in the picture, this forest would have at some point burned, probably by a fire started by lightning. And so it is over-mature. Looking up here at a squirrel dray, so the little squirrels have their home up in the trees. There are lots of red squirrels in this area, which is interesting. And so we've been encouraged by several people to log the trees in here, but we would rather just keep it natural. And if a fire does occur at some point, so be it. So we have to resign ourselves that it may occur. But in the meantime, we enjoy this property. It hasn't had cattle on it for about 15 years. And so a lot of the native vegetation is starting to regrow. And it's just a beautiful little trail in, and one that I enjoy walking on. I see that there are a lot of new spruce coming in. We probably will have to thin these spruce out at some point because we end up with trees that crowd out the road and crowd out each other, and so many of them will die anyway. So we'll just thin out a few. But I really enjoy walking through this forest. I remember as a young teenager coming down here and spending time watching grouse drum in the spring and just walking through and being amazed at the ecosystem. I'm just going to walk through the forest here because I've noticed something that I haven't seen on my previous walks in, and that is a tree that has been utilized by the three-toed woodpeckers. So you can see that the bark has been flaked off, and that's classic of these woodpeckers. And so hopefully they will still be active in the area. I don't hear one right now, but I am hoping that I will be able to see some. They're kind of my nemesis. It does look like it's pretty fresh down here. You can see the bark flakes. So they may just be working these trees now. And so I'm going to keep listening and hoping that I will see either an American three-toed woodpecker or a black-backed woodpecker, both of which have this habit of flaking off the tree bark, of dying or pretty much dead spruce trees. Oh, and we have something interesting here. Always something interesting in the woods. So what we have here is a wood decay fungus. I am not sure of the species of this fungus. I have not noticed this before. So pretty interesting that it's growing on the outside of the trees. This is a decadent forest, as I've mentioned, and so things are decaying. And as I've also mentioned, a fire would really be a great thing in this forest. But of course, we don't want our cabin to burn, and the short-term impacts of a fire are very catastrophic often. Long-term, though, they're critical to the long-term health of the landscape. Walks through the forests are always fascinating. Because once you learn to observe the signs of wildlife, you will see activity everywhere. And so I see the bracts of the spruce cones So the little squirrels have been dining either up in the tree or even on the tree trunk here, the down log. And they have extracted the little seed out and flipped the bracts just down onto the ground. But the object of my great interest here is an amazing collection of wood decay fungus. So these are very remarkable. One of the most interesting courses I took in university was bryology. And I learned all about mosses and lichens and fungi. And so I have a great interest, although I'm not well versed in all the species. But I do believe that this is this Polyporus cinnabrina. And how interesting that on top are some droppings of some little creature. Now they're quite large. They're probably squirrel droppings, because the squirrel has been sitting here having its lunch, eating the little seeds out of the spruce cones, throwing out the bracts, the parts of the seed the cone they can't eat, dropping them down, and probably having a little poop while he's sitting there. Very interesting. It's now late October, and it's starting to rain. It looks like it might even turn to snow. So it's a very chilly afternoon. I'm going to continue my walk into my cabin despite the weather. There's so many interesting things to see. And I hear the blue jays still calling, lots of jays around. I will fill my bird feeders because I do love to come down in the winter and watch the chickadees and the nuthatches and the woodpeckers and the Canada jays feeding at the sunflower seed feeders. And I also give cat food to the Canada jays, and you'll see that in a moment. I just love having the Canada jays around. Earlier I talked about the little seeds that come out of the spruce cones. I have found a patch of mud here, and here are the little seeds. So they're just tiny little individual seeds. It's hard to believe that those could turn into such mighty spruce trees. But they are dispersed in the fall. Thousands drop down to the ground. And only when conditions are perfect will one germinate and the life cycle starts of the spruce tree. And we've had lots of these little trees germinate here. So many so that they become very thick, and they're so thick that very few survive. So we do try and thin them out in a few spots. Otherwise, we just kind of let nature take its course. And as you can see, there's a thick patch of spruce. And as you can see, not everybody survives. So you can see the needles have fallen off, and the ones that are outcompeted just simply die. I'm now going to finish filling my other feeders. Sunflower seeds are the #1 undisputed favorite of birds across North America. And you can either serve sunflower seeds in the shell or shelled and chipped. And so these fine chips have become, I think, the most popular seed on the market, because every bird that comes into a bird feeding station, whether it is a insect eater or a seed eater, will eat sunflower chips. Even Baltimore Orioles and yellow-bellied sapsuckers will eat these sunflower chips. So in order to make them accessible to the little chickadees around here, I like to just scatter them around. So I throw them on the ground. It makes it difficult for the squirrel or the larger birds to come and feed on the little individual chips. And if you put the seeds under the spruce tree, seldom does it get covered. They get covered with snow. And so this is a great way to diversify the feeding opportunities for the birds in the area. squirrel. It just loves to take everything. But as I mentioned, I do put the seeds around, I scatter them, the sunflower chips, and so it takes them longer to get them. And it's not able to get into this metal feeder, so I'm really happy about that.